Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show here inside the Taylor Tilton Hour. Shout out to Memphis and Rome, Georgia. So excited to have you along for another great show. Here we are doing things at the end of 2021, preparing for 2022. And my special guest today, when I read her bio, I was like, oh Lord, I need her for myself for 2022. We're talking about our special guest, Shereese Floyd. She is the founder of Witness My Life, a communications and messaging firm representing nonprofits, faith communities, and socially driven private companies and entrepreneurs. Her emotional branding style and storytelling skills have aided in companies making billions of dollars. She is also the creator of Become the Greatest Story Ever Told, Making a Memoir, a storytelling journal to help people get their stories out of their heads and into the world. Shereese is dedicated to teaching people how to use stories to unite people around a cause and to influence behaviors that move people to action. She is an advocate for social change and believes story is the one thing that truly brings the world together. Now, as a TedX speaker and coach, she helps aspiring speakers craft signature messages that impact the world. And her TedX, The Secret to Healing the World, was awarded for a speechwriting award that she's going to give us more information about. We're talking about Shereese, a contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine. Help us welcome to the show, Miss Reesy. I'm going to go by the nickname. Hey,
Reesy. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. And thank you so much for being a guest here today on the Christie Taylor Show. And I truly must say that when I read your bio, thanks for reaching out, because I was like, I need her for 2022. But can we go a little rewind? Where are you from, Shereese Floyd? And kind of give us an idea. How did you get into your particular segment of business?
Yeah, originally I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and I recently transplanted into Charlotte, North Carolina, a newbie here for about 4 months. And I got into storytelling in a very unique way. I have always been someone who has been very dramatic, like a little over the top. And people would often come to me to write things for them, like wedding vows and poems and songs and stuff like that. And so I always had a flair for it. I got into nonprofit life and was working as the director of marketing and development, and quickly learned that story was the way that we had to bring money into the organization. And in that position, I was able to create a system and a way to do it as a department of one, a way to do it so I wasn't overwhelmed, that quickly got the story, helped people feel comfortable with telling their stories, and then put it together in a way where it really resonated with the audience. And fast forward, here I am today.
Wow, what a journey. And I love the fact that we have similar stories, always having some love of literature. I have those spelling bee stories, and just being an avid reader as a child. And to know that you were able to parlay your love of writing and basically words into a new business is amazing. So the nonprofit sector, what particular segment of the nonprofit sector were you in?
I worked in the human services, mostly domestic violence, senior abuse, anything that was kind of about being good to people. And that was the areas that I stayed in mostly.
Yeah, in Memphis, we have, where I'm based, a plethora of nonprofits, and they do a lot of human interest, services as well. And there is oftentimes, I've noted, being a media personality, when they come in for interviews, the need to be able to craft amazing stories to, push their narrative and appeal to the audience in order to, whether it's supporting an event or supporting the organization. Can you give us some insight into maybe if a nonprofit is watching today and it's like, what do you mean by telling a story when I'm just trying to help somebody survive a negative relationship?
Well, every nonprofit needs donors in order to survive. And so the story matters because you need to be telling the story of impact, not the story that you want to tell, but the story that your donor needs to hear, which it's one of the things, this is the main thing that I see people doing incorrectly, because there's a lot of, we've been around for 10 years. We help people do X, Y, and Z. We do this and we do that.
Yeah.
And that, it's great for you, for your own vanity. But if I am a donor, or if I am someone who needs help from you, I need to be able to go to your website and see my story, not your story. So it is the story that you need to be telling of me. What does my money go to? What does my money impact? And if I need your service, then I need to see how you are going to help me get out of this situation into a better situation.
Shereese, you have preached today. I have been on a path since leaving radio full time and transitioning to consulting. And my idea has been, how can I help people be better media interviewees? And of course, you're hitting the nail on the head with great storytelling. It's about great storytelling, and particularly those who are entrepreneurs, startups, who are also a nonprofit. And I like how you apparently can assist them getting billions of dollars. Now, sis, I have to understand. Nonprofits, of course, they're like, how can I get $1 billion? So what type of companies have you been working with, even in your own company and firm, to assist with that type of revenue generation?
There's nonprofits, there is real estate, there are marketing agencies, car lenders, mortgage people. It's a collection of things that have attributed to that number. And most of it, I will say, came from the real estate and the mortgage industry piece, because they've got big items to sell. But collectively, it doesn't matter what you're selling, story is going to work for you, even if you are selling yourself, particularly if you are selling yourself, it will work for you.
I like that right there, because as I said, when I saw you, I was like, I need her because I have had to rebrand myself. And I can tell earlier this year, I told somebody, I said, I'm having a PR problem. The PR problem is that for decades, I was a radio personality connected to a media company. And now I'm out here as myself, detached from a corporation. People know me. So, well, what is she doing now? It's like she's consulting. She got a podcast, and I'm also, got different things that I do in the community. So I'm like, I need to, reintroduce myself to myself, and then introduce myself again to my audience. So when you're saying being able to do that for an individual, an entrepreneur, a public speaker, nonprofits, you're like, I need to know where my money's going or what services I'm going to provide that's going to change my life. But if I'm just an individual or an entrepreneur, how does story impact me?
I am one of those people, when I work with any client, I believe that your purpose, if you truly believe that you are operating in your purpose, and I'm using purpose in the grand sense of what you're here on this planet to do. If you believe that, then I believe your purpose has been showing up in your life since the beginning. So one of the ways that I am very different from a lot of storytellers is that I am looking to help you connect the dots all the way back to the beginning. So as you were growing up, that purpose was showing up. Yeah. Those lessons that you can't seem to get, the things that keep coming up that you're like, why? Training that's going on. This is how you're becoming the expert, because you keep going through the same thing over and over and over. So I'm looking for those nuggets to be able to tie it to what it is that you are sitting here right now in this moment doing. So I'm going all the way back, and we're going to pull it all the way forward. And then the audience that you are supposed to serve, they will recognize you as their person and raise their hand and say, I want to work with you. That's what I'm here to do.
When I tell you, honey, God designed this interview. My mind is just in mad rush mode. Like, woo! I love it. Okay, so billions of dollars. How do you actually help a individual, an entrepreneur, a business, regardless of the industry, tap into that money flow?
Okay, so what we do is after we craft the story, then we determine where do you need to be. So that would be help from people like you, putting you in front of someone who does media, making sure that you're getting in front of your audience. Whatever product that you are selling, and I use that product because the product that you're actually selling is an emotion and a feeling. The thing that you do is the commodity of the thing that you're selling.
Could you repeat that for the people in the back and for me? The
product is an emotion or a feeling. The thing that you put into the world is the commodity. For instance, I sell story. My real product is courage. I give people the courage to go out into the world and show up and be seen and be heard. The way that I do that, the commodity is the storytelling. So I am selling you on how to get yourself out there. Let's pull back the veil of who you truly are. But my service in doing that is the storytelling. So once you know what you sell, your true product, then we start crafting stories that you put into social media to pull people into what you're actually selling. Nobody wants you to be on social media talking about your book, your podcast, your storytelling, but they will listen to you telling the story of how you have overcome something in your life. And now it's drawing you into, and I can help you do it too with these stories.
Honey, Reesy Floyd. And how long have you been doing this as your own business? And for those who be like, I am Googling her right now, what is the name of your business? Because we do know, you are a master at this. I'm just telling you all right now, I've been in this game a long time, both from music to entertainment to media, and the gems she is dropping is master level work. So what is the name of your business and how long have you been doing it?
It's called Witness My Life, and you can find me at witnessmylife.org. I have been doing it for myself for about 5 years now. And I will say that just like any other business person, when you come into something, you've been doing it for a company for a while. And then when it's time for you to do it for yourself, you start getting scared. Like, I'm brand new, but you're not really brand new. So I came online, I'm listening to all the people, then I'm starting to do what they're doing. And then God got to me and was like, listen, this is the gift that I put in you. This is how you need to show up. So now I'm here. I know what my purpose is, and we showing up. So
when I tell you, you are a gem, she's a gem who's dropping gems. And I love the infusion of faith and inspiration, because to be in business, you really do have to tap into the divine, to God within, who is guiding us at all times. If we will listen, if we will listen, and as the saints say, and obey.
Yes. That's the important part.
And the obey part is the obey. One of the things that I really find quite interesting also, as we were doing research on you, your website is really good. It's very informative. And I like how you have created through your a movement. Can we talk about the movement that you've begun through storytelling?
Yes. Witness My Life came to me. I want to say it came to me in a dream, but I don't think it was that poetic.
Even though it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. It just was, that's how I have always showed up in my life. Like, I really, truly believe to the core of myself that a lot of the world's problems would be solved if we just take a minute to witness each other. Beyond all of the stuff, beyond the race, beyond orientate, beyond all those things that we put in place to keep us apart, if we just take a minute to witness each other, we will see that we all are just trying to do the best that we can with what we got. And so I've realized that I have seen it in my life, and we have seen it play out in history, that when people grow up and believe that they are not seen and not heard, that creates so much chaos, violence, destruction in our world. And it's so basic, is that all we need, just stop, take a minute, see me, hear me, validate my existence. And then maybe we can really get to start having these conversations. And so it was important for me to understand that in order for us to witness each other, we have to know who we are. And that's where the storytelling piece comes from.
And one of the things that I'm seeing that to support that is you began to create curriculum, merchandise, and a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to get to your public speaking, but I want to kind of sit right there with the movement to be seen and to be heard. I know growing up in the South, I was DC born, but my mom, like a good Southern girl, she brought her children South. And one of the principles of living in the South, and you being in the South as well, when you're a child, you're to be seen and not heard.
Yes.
That was part of go somewhere and sit down.
Yes. Yes.
Go sit on your hands, close your mouth.
Yes.
And we will get to you when we get to you. And even though that was because in many cases you had large amounts of family and you're just trying to manage that which is in the house. Mm-hmm. But that also can trickle into the psyche. So when you move into the world, you continue that, sometimes not even being seen, let alone being heard.
Yes.
And I like how you've linked that to the chaos that plays out in the world. Mm-hmm. Was that something that you personally were impacted by? And how did you come up with that, connecting those dots? Because that's deep.
I have had the experience over and over and over in my own life, and how I was showing up in my own life, how I wasn't being good to myself, how I was continuously putting myself in situations that didn't serve me, where I was, in situations where I was treated bad. And it was all about this feeling of not being seen and heard, because being invisible is our default position. It is, we come into the world, there's billions of us on the planet, being invisible is default. And in order to stand out, you've got to break past that. But when you do grow up a certain way and you hear things like, get somewhere and sit down, don't get in grown folks' business, all of that type of stuff, it really does do a number on you. And when you finally try to break out of that spiral that's going on in your head, you come across some things that, but God, you do things that really dishonor yourself. And, as I watch the news like everyone else, and I listen to the things that are happening and, people that are shooting up schools or rioting or whatever the case is, when you get down to the root of it, somebody does not feel validated. And that is why they're out there, doing what they need to do, making a name for themselves any kind of way that they can. So,
the psychology of what you just broke down, for somebody who's like, well, how does being seen and heard as a child play out as an adult? Seen and being heard is validation. And that's the grown people version of that. Are you feeling validated in your relationships? Are you feeling validated at work? Are you feeling validated in society? And when you do not feel validated, you can look at your own life and life choices and see the ways you have found ways to make yourself seen and heard.
Yes.
And they're not always positive. They're not always to the good of yourself and others. So the psychology behind being seen and heard. So even when if you're a parent or having influence over children, watch your words to see if you're validating their humanity and existence, and then their individuality, which goes back to storytelling, because we all have a story to tell
Yes.
that is personal. And I like the fact, thank you for allowing us to sit there for a second. But I want to now get to your storytelling has taken you to the TEDx stage. Can we talk about that? And I know I didn't say the name of the award, so I'm going to give you the opportunity. Tell me about your public speaking. How did you venture into public speaking? And how did you get to TEDx? And how did you receive an award for your speech?
This is, it's an awesome segue, because as we're coming off of that piece about being seen and heard, I was told that I was a shy person. I don't think I ever been shy. I think that is what the persona that I created, because I wasn't really allowed to be who I was. Yeah. I told myself that I was a horrible public speaker. Whenever I would get up to speak, my voice would shake. It would sound like I was going to cry. And that is another area of storytelling. Storytelling is not just about your experience, your lived experience. It's also about the stories that we tell ourselves, because whatever story you're telling yourself in your head, your brain doesn't know the difference, and your actions are going to seek to make it true. So a long time I told myself that I wasn't a good public speaker. So whenever I got up to speak, it ain't happening. It just wasn't happening. But I did have a dream to be a TEDx speaker. And I applied for so many of them and got turned down for so many of them, as I should have been, because my motivation was off. All I wanted was the logo on my website. And the one time that I saw an application open, I had about 2 hours to get the application in with a video. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? At that point, I was a African-American woman living across the street from a white neighbor who had a Confederate flag outside of his house. I was the only African-American, family, me and my then husband at the time, only African-American family with this person flying the flag. However, me and this neighbor had a good relationship. And I thought, that's the story. That's the story that I need to tell, because it tells you exactly who I am and exactly what I believe about the world. I filled out the application, didn't give it a second thought, did a video, no makeup, nothing. That was the one that I landed. And I was like, okay, because this was not about me. This was bigger than me. Did the speech, wrote the speech, loved the speech, thought it was wonderful, submitted it for an award. I won a Cicero Speechwriting Award for it. And the rest is history. And, if you have a chance, I would encourage you to go watch it. It's called The Secret to Healing the World. It is my whole heart in 13 minutes. And I'm very proud of it. Yeah.
The Secret to Healing the World. Yes. That's your TEDx talk.
Yes.
So be sure to check that out. Matter of fact, if you go to her website, you will be able to access all of her social. So go to witnessmylife.org, yes. witnessmylife.org, to access her and all that she's providing, including a journal.
Yay!
That helps with storytelling. Let's talk about that.
So, oh my God, I love this so much.
That's a real journal.
Yeah, it's called Become the Greatest Story Ever Told, Making a Memoir. This was, and it's 280 pages of questions. But what makes it different is that it also comes with an audio component. So you actually get me coaching you through the questions and why I'm asking the questions. I have a lot of people that come to me who want to ghostwrite their stories. Yes. And once I look at the outline of what we're doing, I'm like, child, I need a lot of work. So my way of kind of helping that was to put together something, the questions that I would ask you if we were working one-on-one, I put them in here. But also, what I really want this to do for people is when you go through it and answer the questions, the way that you know how great you are, because we are walking around this planet like we're average, and ain't not one of us average. That's not grammatically correct, but you get my point. We are not average at all. The only way to remind yourself what you are capable of is remembering what you have already done. And I want you to see that in the pages, that you are an incredible person. You are a superhero, and you have always, getting emotional, always been seen and been heard. And this allows you to do it. In fact, you don't really need anybody else to validate you. And so that was the motivation behind it.
You know, to be able to come full circle from not being seen, not being heard, seeking validation, to being able to pen your own memoir in a journal. And that's an extensive workbook.
Yes.
To then come around to, I validate myself.
Yes.
I see myself. I hear myself. And that is some deep spiritual work right there.
Yeah.
You know, I want to share this, Shereese, if you don't mind. I remember years ago, about, I think in my 30s, my early 40s, and I really began to do a lot of deep healing. And I realized that I had not been seeing myself, and I had not been hearing myself or listening to myself. And I remember in a private conversation, me and God, and I, you know, from childhood, always have been a believer in God and all that is good, you know, and I can go deep on that. But God started talking to me about, he said, but you don't believe in you. And I was like, what I got? You know, I believe in you. And he said, you know, we are taught to believe in God.
Yes.
And then God was like, but you don't believe in you, which actually short circuits a lot of the work he can do in us and through us, because he needs our full belief in him and us to do his miracles and his work.
Right.
And then what he really shook me was, he said, I believe in you. That changed my life in so many levels. It's like, no, I believe in you, God. He said, no, and I believe in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when he began to show that he trusted me with life, first and foremost, that's the first thing. The first proof of God's belief in you is he trusted you with the gift called life. And then day by day, every time we wake up, that's another reminder God is trusting. He's entrusting us, and he's trusting us. And that began to open my eyes to see myself and to listen to myself. And it's a day by day work.
Yes.
It's a daily work, sis.
It is.
I'm grateful for this conversation, because it's just putting it back in full center for me, how important that is. And I'm going to be, connecting with you in ways past this interview. And I'm so grateful for you being who you are and following your gift. And thank you for being a guest here today on the Christie Taylor Show.
It was amazing. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to talking to you as well and collaborating outside of the show. There's much work to be done, but you are absolutely right. God believes in us, and we have to believe in ourselves in order to create the vision that he gives us. It's like, we got to do it hand in hand. Without each other, it just doesn't happen.
Well, this is one beautiful way to heal the world. Storytelling, the power of storytelling, the power of knowing your story and telling your story, sharing your story. Yes, we are all seen, we are all heard. And Reesy Floyd is going to help us all do just that. All right. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us here inside the Taylor Tilton Hour. You have been watching the Christie Taylor Show. Up next, it's my girl, Tina Tilton. Tina Tilton is the blend. Thank y'all so much.